What's good, y'all? Welcome back. 2 game sevens, and we had 2 blowouts. The first game was a little more competitive. I had to watch the condensed version because I was at work, and I didn't think I'd be dropping this video tonight. But since the Suns decided to get blown out at home and just not show up for a game 7, I got to watch the condensed version of the Celtics Bucks a little sooner than I thought. And let's. I don't even know where to start, man. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Back-to-back days of me dropping videos, so that's a plus. But man, I said in my video yesterday, I thought the home teams would take it. The Celtics did. We'll get to the Celtics. We'll save the happy Celtics talk for later in the video. But we gotta talk about the best team in the NBA all season long, the Phoenix Suns. Just completely decided not to show up at all in this game. And at one point, they were down by, I think, 49 points. They were getting blown out at home in front of a sellout crowd as the 1 seed against a team that has not been able to win a road game in this series, man. And their players have not played good on the road, but today they decided to show up. The Dallas Mavericks, I got to give a shout out to them, obviously. I'm going to get to the Mavericks. But the fact that the Phoenix Suns decided just to come out completely flat, Devin Booker did not play well. I think that's evident. He was aggressive early on, but he just did not play well. And it seemed like the game plan was anybody but Devin Booker can beat us. And it was working. Mikal Bridges didn't get going. Jay Crowder was not going. DeAndre Ayton played terrible. I think he only put up like 5 shots. He played horrendous. And he was somebody who I made a tweet about early on in the series where I said he has a chance to dominate the series. And he didn't do that. He had maybe like 2 games where he was good. Other than that, he was bad. And this, for him going into a contract offseason, is not looking good for him, at least as far as the Suns giving him that max deal, because he didn't show up in this series. Chris Paul. I guess I'll jump right to Chris Paul. If you've been watching my videos for as long as I've been doing YouTube, a little over a year, pretty adamant that I'm a big Chris Paul fan. But I call a spade a spade. I'm not afraid to hold back, even if it's my favorite player. One of my favorite players. I've been the same with James Harden. I've been super critical of Jason Tatum at times. Chris Paul, I don't know if it was an injury. I don't know what it was, but after game 2, he didn't look like Chris Paul. And quite frankly, he looked terrible. He was bad. Games 3 through 7, he was bad. And I can't sugarcoat it. I mean, I don't even think that really exemplifies how poor this man has been playing since game 2 of the series. Especially on the road in Dallas, it just looked like he just couldn't be focused. He was fouling out, picking up 4 first half fouls, 7 first half turnovers. Like, he was just bad in Dallas. But what I said in my video yesterday with everybody that I've talked to about what I thought about these 2 game 7s, when I talked about the Suns, I'm like, I just don't expect Chris Paul to go into a game 7 and play poor. I didn't expect it from Devin Booker either, but I really didn't expect it from Chris Paul, which is just super unfortunate because that's exactly what happened. I mean, he played terrible. He looked like he wasn't even looking for a shot early on. And one thing with this Suns team that Chris Paul's always been really good at is stopping the bleeding. Did it a lot for this team last season in the playoffs. But in this game, in this series, he hasn't been able to do that. I don't know if it's an injury, but he's out there playing, so I'm assuming he's close to healthy. So I'm not giving him the injury excuse. I said the same thing with James Harden, even if James Harden doesn't look 100%. Look, you're out there playing. You're a Hall of Fame caliber player. You know what's at stake. You've been in game 7s before. You got to be better, man. And everybody knows your track record being up 2-0. You got to be able to close it out. And Chris Paul wasn't like that. And you just look back early on through the series, games 3 and 4 in Dallas. If he was 60% of Chris Paul in game 3, they have a chance to win that game because Dallas didn't play amazing. If he's anything close to Chris Paul in game 4, they have a chance to win that game. And then you're looking at a series where we already won one road game. Just protect home court like they did through the first 3. We're good. But Chris Paul was a shell of himself. Book hasn't been perfect this series either. And I've seen a lot of discourse about Devin Booker becoming one of the more disliked players in like NBA Twitter and just NBA fandom in general. I don't understand it. But this is not good for him, obviously, because he just didn't show up today either. I at least thought if both of them, I didn't think both Chris Paul and Devin Booker would just come out and put up a stinker. I didn't think that, man. And this team, they're only as good as their backcourt. You're not expecting Jay Crowder to all of a sudden come out, hit like 5 3-pointers, even though he did in the game earlier this series. But you're not expecting that. You're not asking Mikal Bridges, when you have Paul and Booker, to go out there like, hey, we need 20, 25 points. You're not asking them for that. And they don't give DA post touches really, so it's like he's only as good as his guards. And today his guards were terrible in a game where if you lose, your season's over. And now it's just like, wow, 68 wins for basically nothing. And it begs the question, what's next for this team? Monty Williams, I'm a big fan of Monty Williams as a coach. I think he's a good coach. But I've seen multiple times in playoff situations and series, he's gotten out-coached. Last season, it was Coach Bud, and I'm going to talk about Bud in a little bit. But Bud's not known as an immaculate playoff coach. We'll just say that much. And shout out to Jason Kidd, because he's helped turn this Mavericks team around. We're going to get to the Mavericks in just a second. But Monty got out-coached again, man. So it's just like, it's little things, man. And having your team come out so flat in the Game 7 at home, after the ending of your season last year, you know what's on the line. You know it's championship or bust, essentially. It's not a good look. Not a good look at all. Let's get to the Mavericks, though, because Dallas, they've had a roller coaster of a season. Didn't start great early on. People were saying, oh, I told you so about Jason Kidd. He's not a good coach. I don't know why they hired him out of all candidates. Jason Kidd's footprint is all over this team. They showed a clip of him just coaching up the guys on the sideline. Mid-play, he was talking like he was on the court. He was like, Dorian Finney-Smith, drop. He was making all kinds of calls on the defensive side of the floor. And that's what's made this team so much better this season, is their defense has ramped it up. And you knew the offense was going to get going at some point over the course of the season. I remember coming on this channel after the Porzingis trade, and I was like, I don't really know what to think of it. I don't know why they did it. But since that point, and really since January 1st, 2022, they've been the second best team in basketball. Like they have the second best record in basketball. You have probably a top 5 player in the game in Luka Doncic. And then when Jalen Brunson gets going, when Dinwiddie gets going like he did today, he set the tone. Spencer Dinwiddie set the tone. That's when the floodgates started opening up. When those guys get going, then you got Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber hitting shots. It's just like, there's not much that you can do. And Charles Barkley said something in the postgame just a few minutes ago. He was like, Luka Doncic, his confidence is contagious with this team. And I couldn't agree more. I think when you see your best player out there being super confident, and Luka was killing in the first half, he had just as many points, 27 at halftime, as the entire Phoenix Suns team, which is just straight up embarrassing. But Luka, he does his thing, man. He's one of the best playoff performers in the league already, in just his third playoff run of his career. But the confidence thing is true. And I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but it's all good. That's what these videos are for. The confidence was there. Like, it's there in Luka. We know that. But then when Dinwiddie gets going, and then, Jalen Brunson and other guys get going, the confidence feeds through the rest of the team. And when I was watching this game, once Phoenix got down like 15 to 20 points, I just had the feeling like there's no way that they come back and win this game. Because Dallas is the type of team, when they get up, when they get confident, they're going to keep hitting shots. They're going to keep hitting shots. And when you have somebody like Luka, you're going to get whatever shot that you want. Because he's just that good. He's just that good. There's not really any coverage that you can throw at him, because he's one of the best playmakers. He's one of the best scorers in the league. And he's always one step ahead. And they're going to get shots that they want. It's just a matter of making and missing them. And today they were making them. Spencer Dinwiddie came off the bench. Like I said, he set the tone. He was big time. The last 2 games, he was one of the best players on the floor. He hit, I think, 5 threes in Game 6 after being completely god-awful in Games 1 through 5. I think one game Game 5, he might have got like 12 minutes in that contest, because he was just so bad. It's been an up and down season for him. Round 1, he had some moments. Then he would have like a 6-21 game, but it was an impactful 6-21, if that makes sense. And in this series, he was terrible all series, but he was able to step it up in Game 7. And that's kind of the thing today, was just guys coming out of nowhere and having a big game in Game 7. Shout out to the Mavericks. We'll talk about real quick. I'll probably do a whole preview video of the Western Conference Finals. In fact, I'm going to hold that for tomorrow. They'll match up with the Warriors. I'll drop that video tomorrow. Shout out to the Mavs. Phoenix, highly disappointing. I at least expected y'all to go out swinging. We'll see what's next for them. But the Mavericks are in the Western Conference Finals, first time since 2011. And let's get to the Celtics Bucks, the first game of the day. I had to watch the condensed version. I wish I had the chance to watch it live. But then again, my anxiety probably couldn't have taken it. But the Celtics ended up pulling away. Ended up being like almost a 30-point win in the Game 7. It was a little bit closer. I mean, like end of the fourth quarter, the floodgates opened up. And while I was watching it, I decided to make notes, which I don't ever do. I don't make notes. Like all of this stuff is usually off the top of the head. I made notes for this game, man. First, I want to highlight Jason Tatum, his growth. Because I've been somebody, like I said earlier, I criticize my favorite players because, that's just a part of the job. And Jason Tatum, his growth just this season alone, incredible. He looks like a totally different player from Game 1 in Madison Square Garden this season to Game 7 against Milwaukee. He looks like a totally different player. Only took 14 shots today, but he was playmaking. His defense has been incredible, especially in the playoffs. Rebounding the ball. All-around impact. That's something that has really came around for him this season. His game has just drastically improved. And even on nights where he's not the leading scorer, he's still probably the best player on the floor for the Celtics. And I would argue he was the best player overall today. Just incredible growth, man. Incredible. There were questions on whether him or JB could really coexist and be together. I mean, they haven't won a championship yet, but this is probably a series that, I don't know if many people probably expect. I mean, it was probably a little bit of a toss-up. You did have the injury help with Chris Middleton being out, but it's like you still got to go out and beat the defending NBA champs, two-time MVP, Finals MVP Giannis. Jrue Holiday had a really good series. You still had to go out and win, man. And Jason Tatum, to go from what he did in Game 6, which was just, I'm just the best player on the floor, I got to will my team to a win, to what he did today, which was just, I'm still the best player on the floor, but it's going to be a little bit different. I like that, man. It's showing true growth in this game, and it's incredible to watch just over the course of the season how much he's gotten better and just the team as a whole. Because we're talking about two teams that just made the conference finals that at one point were like under 500 teams, and it just completely flipped. And once it flipped, they were two of the best teams in basketball. So shout out to JT. Some more notes from this game. I said JB's third quarters in this series, especially I think the last 3 games, he's had just nice third quarter runs by himself to really spring this team out of halftime. It happened last game. He scored like 7 points right out the gate. It happened today. I think he had 7 or 9 points in the third quarter. Hit some big shots to really open things up. I like seeing JB. Like some nights he can be the best scorer on the floor, and then some nights he just has timely runs by himself. Really good series for him because there were games where Tatum wasn't good, but he was scoring the ball and he was keeping this team afloat, man. Really big shout out to JB. And then Grant Williams had the game high 27 points. And this is where I get into Coach Bud's philosophy a little bit. They were willing to give up the 3-point shot, which is something Milwaukee always does. But we saw a glimpse in Game 6 where they started to switch the pick and roll a little bit. Then they got away from it. So we was kind of seeing, like, would they switch the pick and rolls or just run drop coverage? They ran drop coverage. And Grant Williams put up 18 threes. He made 7 of them. And he scored 27 points. And you can't, man. You got to make adjustments, Coach Bud. You're a championship coach, but you're still not really making adjustments, and you're giving the team at home a lot of 3-point shots, and the 3-point shots were falling. You just continue to give them up, and that's how you end up losing by 30 points because the 3-point shot is that lethal, especially when you got somebody hitting 7. I think Tatum started off 5 for 5. It's just like floodgates open. Peyton Pritchard turned into Steph Curry in the fourth quarter. Like, them adjustments by Coach Bud, man, it just wasn't there, but I also got to give a shout out to like Ime. Really like has grown up a lot just in this playoff run. Like I think in this series he's grown a lot. I also wrote down that Derek White minutes were terrible today. He was 1 for 10, and I promise you the 1 for 10 doesn't really tell how bad he actually played. He was terrible, which is somebody like Derek White's been really good, especially in the first half. For this team, like the last 3 or 4 games, he's been scoring 5 to 7 points every first half. But he was horrible today. And then polar opposite, Peyton Pritchard has been terrible this entire series. Came out, gave you 14 points, 5 of 7 shooting. Big time from him off the bench. Grant Williams, big. Those are two guys. Last season, earlier this season, Peyton Pritchard was kind of unplayable. And really over the course of the last couple seasons, I hated Grant Williams' minutes, and now he's become one of the more valuable pieces to the Celtics team. I think that's solid to say, man, because he did a heck of a job on Giannis in this entire series. And that's another part of my notes. The Celtics wore Giannis out. 25 points on 26 shots, something like that today. Missing layups. I think that's just a product of it's been a long series. And Giannis has done his thing this series for sure. But it was tough. Like, he was putting up a lot of 30-shot games. He was getting his 40 balls, but he was putting up like 30, 32, 34 shots. He was putting up a lot of shots. And I think it eventually just caught up to him. And I think the whole Bucks team as a whole, it just caught up to him. Like, they went through a stretch where they missed 13 straight three-pointers. And in a Game 7 on the road, you have the great equalizer, which is the three-point shot, but they wasn't hitting their threes today. And that's really the big catalyst, man. It really was. You can argue maybe if Middleton was there or the Bucks a superior team, you can argue it for sure. But I think where they missed him the most was down the stretch in games, because they just couldn't close out a lot of games. Game 3, they couldn't close out. They barely got out of that. Game 4, they couldn't close it out. Game 6, they just didn't have it in the fourth quarter. Like, they probably missed Chris Middleton a little more than maybe people think. But injuries happen, and the Celtics were able to win this series. They were able to win this series, matching up with the Miami Heat, who will have home court advantage. It's going to be a fun. I still think the conference finals is going to be fun, even though the best team in basketball got knocked out. I think the Mavs Warriors is going to be fun. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Same for the Celtics Heat. The four teams are left. Let me know what y'all think. What was y'all's reaction to the Suns just not showing up? And what do y'all think about the Celtics-Bucks Game 7? The Celtics winning by 28. Suns lost by a lot to the Mavericks.